Sahiti is here, right?
Yeah, Dev. Today it's good, stable. My internet connection is stable today.
Okay, so I think it was you whose internet connection was not stable yesterday, not
Yeah,
Moshida.
yesterday. Yeah. I had
Yeah,
power cuts, so
okay, great, great. Because I can see now today it's around 23 people, right? All right, guys. So weekend training.
Doesn't feel like weekend. Doesn't feel like a weekend.
Yeah, work from home doesn't feel like a weekend. It's like uh, it's just going on. No Saturdays, no Sundays.
Exactly. Taking out Saturday, it's a very painful thing.
Yeah, right. That's right. So, and especially once you're in production environment, you will feel that there's like when it comes to when the Monday when the week has started and when it has ended, you won't be able to notice it. That is something I can guarantee you. Because for me, it is like by the time my wife or my family member tells me that it's Sunday, I'm not able to notice it. It's like that. It's whether it's Saturday or Sunday. Anyway, so that's how the things are there. So I can see Sarthak, Anuja, Akhil, Kshitija. Kshitija is all set to go somewhere, I think.
yeah, I have plans.
So after the attendance, you would be traveling.
No, no. After the session.
So what you do is, so you're ready right now. The session is going to finish around in the evening.
It's okay now. I can stay dressed up entire day. I
Okay,
like dressing up.
it's okay. Then you can keep your cam on the whole day. Okay, so it will be motivating for us. We'll
Cool.
feel like we are talking to professional.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you can also turn on your camera, then it's fine. Then let people see you also.
Me, yeah, I will.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
will. I will. I have some camera issue at my place. I will try to start it.
Okay, okay.
See, I told you on the first day, I don't want to scare you guys.
No, you actually said for the third day, so we waited for the third day. Now it's the final day, so people are waiting.
Oh, okay. I said it third day. I'm really
Yeah.
sorry. Certain times I become Gajni. I forget everything. So just trying to, uh, okay, I will try to keep up my commitment. So not now. I will at the end of the session. I will try to turn it up. Okay. Or you can connect me, on the platforms anyway. So LinkedIn and all, we can stay connected. So there you can see up. So you guys are there on LinkedIn, right? Yeah. It's an awesome platform. So I will share you the link. You can connect. We can connect on that. All right. So Isha, Nalin, Lakshya. Then we got Sahiti and Abhishek Anand. Abhishek Anand has those artifacts. Those are painting or those are stickers on your background.
Stickers.
Stickers. You're using Jabra.
Yeah.
Me too. The same model. In fact, the same thing.
Yeah, we got it from the company.
So I paid for myself. Good. All right. So those whose name has been called up, you can turn off your cam. Thank you. Okay. So we got Adhyasha. Adhyasha is the first to connect. I saw it today. She's available on the very early part. Adhyasha, Bhanu, Fiza, Siddhi, Harsh. Harsh is quite tense right now. And then we got Sneha and Manjot. Manjot is like, why? Where am I? Okay, great. So thank you guys. So we are on the fifth day, guys. Now it's a Saturday. We need to take it because of the Bakri Eid holiday, which happened on, I think it was on Wednesday, right? Yeah, the third day was the holiday. Sarthak, that is the reason I was not able to keep up my commitment. Oh, we got Abhishek Mandal.
Hi there.
Abhishek, how's your experience? How was your experience with the, vaccination?
Uh, I'm still not feeling good. I have body ache, so
Covishield or Covaxin? Which one?
it's Covishield.
So you have those medicines, one that was recommended.
Like yesterday, they gave me one, like in the hospital itself. They made me wait for 1 hour, and after that, I had medicine during the night. I haven't had any medicine today morning, so I'll have it
No,
afterwards.
no, you won't feel anything. Even I had it on Sunday before starting yoga. This batch. I had it on Sunday and I didn't feel anything. So the only thing is you need to avoid taking any other, medicines or any kind of immunization for next 3 days, 3 or 4 days. That is
Okay.
something you need to avoid. I don't know
Okay.
whether they have recommended you this or not, but
No,
you
they
need to
didn't
avoid it.
say anything about any other medicine.
No, not medicine, but especially on the immunization part, just try to avoid that. Don't get any other immunization for next 3 days. These are the crucial 3 days. So anything is going to happen, it will happen in these 3 days.
Okay.
Okay. So don't get scared. It's nothing.
Yeah.
So we'll take a screenshot of your picture. I'm taking a screenshot in case it is required further.
My picture or like
No,
everyone?
only your Abhishek was a good person.
Like, do I need to turn on my camera or something?
No, 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 not like that. Anyway, okay,
Oh,
great guys. So I think almost all of you have connected. Only Nishita is not available today. Nishita and Kavya. Still, the count is 24 today. I don't know how, but yeah, okay. Let's continue now. Okay, so today we'll be concentrating on the rest of the aspect. Okay. So did you try doing the labs on your system, on your personal laptop? I don't know. You got a lot of restrictions in your environment, right? So did anyone try doing it? Or it's like after the training, no going back to the laptop. Sarthak, did you try it? Kshitija, Sarthak.
No, I was too tired. I do stuff.
I understood. I understood.
I didn't do it.
Okay. Anyone else who has tried it? So whatever labs we have done, I see the thing is, the labs which are there, no, they are very crucial labs. Okay. So if you don't practice it, you might, it might be out of your mind for after 1 or 2 days. Then again, you need to start from scratch. Okay, so let's start. So today we'll be concentrating on the next aspect. Okay, we'll be talking about the how exactly the monitoring and other aspects are working. So yesterday we spoke about the IAS, the platform, the storage, the database, and all the solution. Now today we'll be moving towards you know the security aspect. How we can secure. Okay, whether you talk about the authentication part or whether you talk about the implementing the secure solutions, cloud solutions. So we'll be talking about that. Then and after that we'll be moving towards the you know event based and message based stuff. Okay, for your API. So when you talk about API management, how exactly we can manage. So again, The flow is in this way. So it starts with the understanding of the product, okay, the configuration part, then managing part, and then the monitoring part. So we have done with the configuration. We have seen some of the configuration. Okay, I'm not saying that we have we have extensively dig into the configuration. What we have seen is that it is more on the how in the Azure, as a developer, we can configure the web apps, we can use the functions and all those things, yes. And what is the concept behind it? And then talking about the management, like IAS and all. So if you want to manage, if you want to target the VMs, if you want to target the containers, so what are the areas? What is the difference between them? Database part. And now we are moving towards the security aspect and the monitoring aspect. Okay. So what are the options? What are the products? How we can implement API management? What exactly it is? Okay. So when you talk about API management, when we talk about app service logic apps, or when we talk about event-based solutions, or when we talk about message-based solution, so what exactly are this? Okay. So today we'll be talking about this. These are not big topics. So the majority of the things were happening on the first six or first five areas. Okay. So when we talk about app services, okay, the creation of Azure app services, when we talk about implementation of Azure functions, or working on the storage part using the blob storage and all, or whether it was related to your Cosmos DB or IAS. So these were one of the critical ones. Now what we are going to discuss is it is important, but it is more on the add-on. Okay, it's like an add-on stuff which is coming up. Okay, so let's start, guys. Let's take it ahead. So whether you are able to do the labs in your restricted environment or not, what I will do is I will share you the whole document. Okay. So what you can do is not today if you're exhausted after the training, not today, but tomorrow or next week, whenever you're getting time, try to create that trial account. Okay. Because I think this whole lab which is provided by the organization, it might get, they might revoke it by next week. So I would really request you guys, please go ahead and create a trial account. Okay. If you're facing any challenge in creating trial account, you have my number. You can ping me on that. Okay. And, you know, you should be able to configure it. Try to practice it. Okay. As much as possible, because that is the whole point of this, training. So this is not an extensive one, but it's something where you need to know how exactly the Azure functions and Azure things are working. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the first area. So we'll be starting with the talking about the user authentication or authorization. So how exactly we can secure, or how exactly we can work with user authentication and authorization. Now, why do you think user authentication and authorization is an important concept? What exactly it is? What can be the use case with respect to your as a developer where you can utilize it? So as an admin, I know that user authentication authorization plays a very important role, because if I am an admin, if I want to manage the resource, so whether it's an on-premises or whether it's a cloud, okay, it's important. But as a developer, when we talk about user authentication authorization, where we are going to target this, or what kind of area we are going to target this? Guys, I'm audible. You need to say something. Like when we talk about user authentication or authorization, what exactly this means? What is this procedure? Anyone?
Access control.
Okay. Access control. Okay. So like right now you guys are having this Azure access, right? Now in this Azure, you have been provided access to a particular set of services. Even though Azure has the whole platform, it's one single platform or one single area where you have access to all the services. Okay. So, and your organization is having an EA, the enterprise agreement stuff, which is happening. So the subscription, which is there. So even though you're a part of this EA, but still you have a restricted environment within that same tenant. Okay. So this whole thing which is there, the authorization, the authentication, these have been managed by Microsoft. So Microsoft has come up with different platforms like identity, and when we talk about this whole area. So it's like a web. Okay. So here you can see, so Microsoft tries to provide you a single identity so that we can use or connect to any kind of app services. Okay. So identity is like a control panel or control area. Okay. It's like a platform through which you are able to access all your data. So whether you talk about on-premises apps, whether you talk about the devices, whether you talk about the employees, or whether you talk about the partners and customers, or whether you talk about the cloud apps, all of them. Okay, so identity plays a very important role in the whole aspect. Now, Microsoft has its own set of mechanism, and especially in both the cases. So whether you talk about on-premises or whether you talk about the you know sorry, whether you talk about on-premises or whether we talk about the cloud. So remember we have discussed about a product called as AD, Active Directory. I don't know whether you have worked on that or not, or you have used it. So Active Directory is a Microsoft proprietary product, okay, and it's like a solution, okay, and this solution is basically for managing your user credentials, okay, or user accounts. So whenever we talk about the user account part, whenever we talk about the process, so Microsoft identity is AD is something which is we are using. Now AD is not something new. It's a very legacy product. So on premises we have servers. Okay, there's a client server stuff, and we have the server. And for that server, we have a server operating system. So since now 2003 is obsolete, 2008 is obsolete, but there are different versions. So since 2008, 2003, or 2000, all the versions of server that we have worked, or I have worked, I have seen AD in all of them. Okay, Active Directory. So it's a legacy product. How we have this Office apps, okay, which is a part of the legacy. So now today we have M365, but still we still have the PowerPoint, we have the Excel, Word, all this particular app services available over there. So the same thing is happening with the with the AD. So AD is, when we talk about the identity part, AD is one of the major tools. And then eventually now in 2016, when we talk about on-premise servers, so we have 2016 and 2019, which are recent, they are the one which are being used extensively now. Okay. So now in those scenarios, we are using this, we have this ADDS coming into picture. Okay, so that is on the on-premise system. Now, since the launch of Azure, Microsoft has come up with a different set of cloud. Okay, there's the cloud services which have come up. Now, in the cloud services, when we talk about this resource, so it's the same infra. So how we have the infra on the on-premises, the similar kind of infra is happening on the cloud. So we are creating the solution, we are hosting the apps, we are deploying the apps, we are creating the apps on the machines. All those things are being done. So again, we require a kind of solution which can, take care of the identity access. So for this, Microsoft has come up with the term called as Azure AD. Okay, so there is a product or solution called as Azure AD. So which is quite similar to your Active Directory server. So in Active Directory, what is happening? You have the option of creating objects. So whenever now you guys have received your respective email IDs, right? So this email IDs that you have received, or the user name and password that you have received, which you are trying to log in onto your machine. Now these machines that you're using, they all are domain connected machines. The laptops. Now, how can you make a difference between a machine which is domain connected and which is not? So if you have a machine which is domain connected, you will see that, or you will find that you don't have much permissions. So for example, yesterday we were trying to, configure or install this Docker stuff, right, on your system. So you were not able to do it, right? Yes or no? So you were getting the restrictions. Correct? So that is because your system, the one that you're using, it's a domain connected machine. Okay. Now, why it is domain connected? There's a different scenario because, this machines needs to be monitored. Okay. So whatever activity that you're doing, what kind of, the type of data you're handling, it's very crucial. The data is very crucial for an organization. Okay. So whether it's, it has been built by you or you are accessing someone else's data. So all the data is very crucial. So in order to have a centralized monitoring aspect, centralized database aspect, and centralized, backup aspect, so this client server architecture has been developed. So whenever a client is trying to connect with the server or wants to connect with the server, so it needs to be a part of that domain. And that happens with the help of DNS, DHCP. There are various other, you know, uh, the technology or tools which are overall creating that environment. And once the environment is created, your machine gets connected in domain, and then what is happening? The server is able to push up the policies. So now you can see in this machine, you have a very restrictive environment. Okay, so like you need to have the VPN on. You need to, if you want to. But there's one more benefit. The benefit is like you're using the same user ID and password for all of your servers. Yes or no? So whether if you're trying to access an email, or whether you're trying to, launch a Visual Studio or any of the applications which is as per your, job role. So now you can do it easily. So for you, it is not going to prompt you, passwords or email ID or passwords or username password for everything. So concepts like SSO and all, they are helping you. So the same concept has been applied in Azure AD. Okay, so Azure Active Directory is, it's like a developer platform. Okay, so it's allows the developer to build applications which are getting signed in. You can use the sign-in option of Microsoft identities. So basically, see, whatever applications are being developed by Microsoft, whether it's on cloud, so especially on the cloud, so Microsoft, Azure AD comes along with that. So whether you're using the M365 or whether you're using Azure, okay, all of them can be accessed, or the users or identities can be managed using this Azure AD. Okay, so Azure AD is like a directory in which you have the whole users, okay, within that tenant. So the tenant. So how we have domain, we have a tenant. So the tenant, within that tenant, whatever users you want to provide. So right now you got a email ID. So that email ID is created or that is an M365 email ID. So using that email ID, you can access SharePoint, you can access OneDrive, you can access any of the M365 based service. Clear, guys? So that is Microsoft Identity. Okay. So Microsoft Identity Platform is it's like an evolution of the Azure AD, okay, on the developer platform side. So what it does, it allows developers like you and me, okay, to build application, okay, which can sign in on all Microsoft identities, and they can get token to call Microsoft APIs. So like your Microsoft Graph or APIs that developers they are trying to build, any of them. Now, what this identity platform consists of? So there is a OAuth, okay, OAuth 2.0. So let me move ahead. So this is Azure ready. So you can see. So we have Windows, we have Mac, Android, M365 Cloud, all your SaaS app, on-premises, everything you can access via this. Okay. So this is what it consists of. So directory authentication library. So there's a ADAL. Okay. So it consists of your available. So it is available in C#, JavaScript, Objective-C, Java, Python, everything. Okay. Now, when we talk about this identity platform, so it consists of OAuth, okay, 2.0, and an OpenID Connect standard compliant, authentication service. Okay, so it consists of that. Now, what this OAuth does, it enables developers like you and me to authenticate any Microsoft identity. Now, this includes your, this can include your work and school account or your personal Microsoft account, like Live ID that yesterday we have discussed, or your, any social or local accounts. So, there's a concept where you can connect your Azure or you can use Facebook account, okay, in order to log into your Azure. Do you know that? So you can use Facebook or you can use any other, social or local accounts like Gmail or something. You can use it. Are you aware about it? So those are called
Yes.
as B2C accounts. They are called as B2C or B2P. Okay. So there's a concept of like that. So in Azure AD, there's a concept of B2B or B2C. So you can invite users, guest users, and then you can, log in with their this social accounts and all.
So these like social logins, they are all third-party authentication, right?
Yes, yes. So I was working, recently, I was working with a US firm on a project. So there was a US client. So they needed this, so they wanted to go for the Facebook. So they wanted to use Facebook for, logging in into their Azure areas or for this Azure identity. So what we did is we created this whole B2B stuff, okay, for them, and now they are able to use their Facebook ID for the Azure portal or Azure services, and they are able to use it. So that is possible. Okay. So many a times, this third option is something you will find mostly, especially if you're developing an application which is going to be, in the not in organization front, but on the customer end user customer. So like, if I'm visiting your website, okay, and let's say if I don't have a, your organization login, so I should be able to log in either via any of my social account. So nowadays, if I'm having an Android phone or if I'm having an iOS platform, I prefer logging using my Apple ID, or I will be, using the Gmail or the Google thing from the Android. So it should be like, if I'm launching that app on my mobile or, on the website via my mobile or, via my tab, and if there's a login which is already available as per the Android and iOS, so I should be able to connect. So such kind of requirements are very common nowadays. So when you're, on the authentication aspect, especially when you're dealing with the users, end users, not on the organization level, but yeah, on the common level. So you might have seen that scenario and even used it. Okay. So that is the app, that is the whole Microsoft identity part, guys. So there is a lot of concept. So OAuth is, OAuth 2.0 is something that we are using. Okay. So Azure Active Directory plays a very important role over here. Okay. So it helps us to work on the application. Okay. And application registration, or all the whole principle part.
Dave, I have a confusion between Azure AD and Microsoft Identity. Can you differentiate between them?
Who's this?
One.
You have a confusion between Azure AD and Microsoft Identity. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the confusion?
I mean, I understood that they both basically do the same thing. They both, take care of the authentication.
Okay, you are thinking that there are two different platforms that we are targeting, right?
Yeah, as the name suggests, I am thinking they are two different things. Are they not?
Okay. Are you aware about Azure AD, like how exactly the Azure AD works?
No, I have no idea.
That is the reason. Okay. So Azure AD is, if you launch, let's quickly first launch and see. Okay. So Banu, if you can share your screen and launch the Azure platform, we will go for the Azure AD account. Okay. So that will really help us to deal with the confusion, rather than me explaining it, because I would be, repeating my words. That's it, nothing else.
Yeah.
So you can share your screen and just launch the Azure account, or I can share it. That's not an issue. Event is finished, the one that was happening yesterday at your
What?
place. There was some event happening at your place, right? It's finished.
Yeah. It'll go on for a few days.
Okay. Okay, let me share my screen so that we can just quickly work on that. So by the time
Sure.
it's taking time. Just a minute, guys. Okay, so Azure AD is this. So this is your Azure AD. So you can look out for Azure AD over here. You can type Azure, and then you can look out for Azure AD. Okay. So Azure AD will show up in the. So it's in the marketplace. Now here you can see we have this identities and all, okay, which are coming up. So we have users, we have groups, we have external identities, role, administration unit, enterprise application, devices, app registration, identity licenses, connect. So these are the different options which are there. So if we talk about users, so user is the area where you will be having all your users. So these users that we are creating, okay, they are, they can be a guest user, or they can be something on the, new user. So if I click on new user, just trying to, so this is where you can, have the option. So here I will create a new user. So this will have a username like this. And let's say if we want to collaborate, okay, so if you want to invite a guest user to collaborate within the organization, so here you can invite them. So I will be providing the whole, details, and then the user is created. So that is on the user aspect. So this is my directory. Then we have groups. We have external identities. Okay. So this is where you are trying to connect for that social platform. So we have this Google, Facebook, or any live account. if we want to use that same account for connecting as an identity part. So we can create a flow, we can collaborate. So this is for the external identity. So this is where you have the B2C and B2B stuff. So you can see it's written over here. That's a B2B, option. So this is on the external identity part. Okay. So you can create your own, API connectors. Okay. So let's say you want to deal with certain APIs. So you can add a API connector. So you can enable this.
Hello, Dave.
Yeah.
API connector in the sense endpoint.
Yeah. Endpoint.
Okay.
So this is on the external identity. So this is an external identity part that we're having. So we have all the identity providers over here. So we can have Google, Facebook, if you have SAML and all, if you have any other. So you can use, any of this account. Okay. Now, let's say if I want to be more specific on the enterprise application, I want to deal with the application part. So this is where you are trying to register. Okay. So enterprise application is the area where you are trying to deal with. Okay. So you can click on it, and then from here you can select, the whole, there's a marketplace, okay, which is available. So these are the featured applications that you will find. Let's say if you want to create your own application, so you can configure, the Azure AD, you can integrate. So Microsoft Identity is an integral part of your, Azure AD. It's not something different which is coming up. So it uses the, protocol, or you can technology called as OAuth 2.0 authentication part, okay, that we are dealing with. So here, so if we talk about app registration, so these are the areas where you're registering your app. So app registration. So you can set the endpoints. Okay. So user facing display name. Okay, and this would be your user facing. Who can use this application or access this API? So you can set it on. So this is basically we are trying to, put it on the tenant. Okay. So you can set the whole parameter over here. And then you're done. I hope I'm able to clear your doubt, Banu. What exactly is Azure AD and how exactly, this identity part.
Yeah, they got it.
Okay. So Azure AD is quite similar to your, there's an ADDS service which is there in your Microsoft server. Okay. The only difference between Azure AD and, ADDS is that in ADDS you have an option of configuring group policy and all. So what exactly is group policy? So now you guys have a restriction on your system. Okay, you have a restrictions on your system that you cannot do this, you cannot do that, or you cannot, enable this option, all those things. So that is happening via group policy. Azure already does not support group policy. Okay, it's not. We cannot configure group policy. It doesn't support as in we cannot configure. It doesn't have that option in here. Rest, all of the things that we are doing on the identity part, it's available. The major difference between both the identity, you will see that it is more on the, on the cloud part. Azure AD is being created in such a way that it provides the option for the cloud aspect of all the areas. So you can connect any of the services of Microsoft using this Azure AD account, or any application, or you can host your own application. That's how the things are. Okay. So let's move ahead. I think we are clear with the Azure AD part. Now, sometimes what happens, the meaning of the term application, they can be misunderstood. So when used in context of Azure AD. So Azure AD, or when you talk about an application that has been integrated with the Azure AD, what does it implies? So no, that particular application has an implication which is going beyond the software aspect. So this application which is there, it is frequently used as a, as a conceptual term, or, if I refer it to not only as an application for, but it is a part, so it is been registered. So it's a part of your Azure AD. It has been registered, and it's a part of the role authentication, authorization, everything. So whenever we are trying to run that application, when we are trying to execute, so Azure AD is the one which is taking care of the identity part. So an application, by definition, if we talk about with respect to, in Azure AD, so it can be, it can function with different roles. Okay, there are different roles which can function. So there's a client role where it is consuming the resource. Then we have the resource server role, okay, where it is exposing the API to the client. So that's what we have seen. We can connect the APIs and all. And it can be having the role of the application which you are hosting or which you are registering with the Azure AD. It can be having, or it can be have both the roles of client role as well as the resource role, both of them. So who is granting the flow which defines the conversation protocol stuff? So OAuth. So OAuth 2.0 is a protocol which is being used for for defining the flow for the conversation. So this allows the client resource to access, or you can say protect a resource data, within the system. Okay, that is how we are trying to. Now, when we talk about application registration, right now we have seen that option. So when we are registering an Azure AD application in the Azure portal, so there are two objects which are getting created in Azure AD tenant. One is the application object, and the second one is the service principal object. There are two objects which are getting created. So when we talk about the application object, so here, if I talk about this, so when I'm registering, so let's say if I'm going back in the app registration, and if I'm trying to register an app, okay, so once I do the registration part, so there are two objects which are getting created. One is your service principal object, and one is your application object. Now, what is application object? So Azure AD application, if we try to define by, it's like the application stuff. Okay, it's like you're defining the object. So this object is residing in the Azure AD tenant. Okay, the wherever it is registered. So you're registering in the Azure AD tenant, and it is called as the home. Okay, so object is nothing but, so for the object, the tenant is like a home. So Microsoft Graph application is a kind of platform which defines the schema. So here we are trying to define the schema. We are trying to define the properties of the object, the application, everything. So application object is basically like the schema. Okay, it's like it holds the schema value, the design value. Service principal object, on the other hand, is let's say if I want to access the resource, which are part of your Azure AD tenant. So the entity, over here requires access, and this must be, this must consist of certain things. So whenever they want to, go for an access, so for that access, there's a, service principal or the security principal which should be represented. So who is taking care of this? The security principal. Okay. And this is for users and the application, both the things. Okay. So the user principal and as well as on the, service principal, both the areas. So the service principal, what it does, it defines the policy, okay, the permission for the user, or how they can use it, or for the application in this tenant, okay. And it enables, features such as authentication of the user, okay, and, for the application. So whenever they are trying to sign in, so the authentication and authorization access is taken care of by the service principal object. So whenever you are registering, so there are two objects which are getting created in the Azure AD tenant. One is the application and one is the service principal. Application holds the schema, service principal holds the, you know, the authentication authorization value. So whenever you're giving permission to an application or whatever, to access the resource and all in the tenant, so service principal is created over there. Okay. So service principal entity, again, it is also defining a schema. It is defining a pattern, but it is defining the pattern within the service principal object properties, not on the application object. Clear, guys? So this is how objects are being created. So what we'll do is let's have a walkthrough. Let us create an app and see register a new application. So I don't know whether you guys would be able to do it. Just check whether you're able to launch your Azure AD. I doubt. This is like, this is on the tenant level. Any one of you can share your screen and we'll just have a, test. Abhishek or Bhanu, Kshitija, any one of you, Isha. So now Abhishek is like, Dave has taken 4 names. So I should wait. Guys, any one of you can share the screen and then we'll quickly check whether we would be able to perform this app registration within your tenant or not on your Azure account.
I guess I'll have to do it.
Yes, Abhishek. Abhishek is the savior.
Is it visible?
Yes, Abhishek. Okay, let's quickly jump on the Azure AD and just check, and then we'll come back to my system if it's not happening. Just type up Azure AD on your, search area. Yeah, click on that. Yeah. Click on the app registration. Why is it showing Providence and Joseph Health?
The name of organization is Providence and Joseph Health. The main
I thought
organization.
I thought it's only Providence LLP.
Mm.
Right. So anyway, app registration. Click on that app registration. Nothing is happening.
Yeah, I clicked. You want to like, should I click this new registration?
Oh, it's showing up late over here, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So just try to click on new registration.
Actually, I'm on my phone hotspot. That's why I guess.
It's okay. I can understand. Why you're on phone hotspot? Your Wi-Fi is not working?
Yeah, Wi-Fi is giving some bad trips. Access denied, Dave.
Yes. That's what, I was waiting for it. I was happy, you would be able to do it. But then, great, fantastic. The labs which are created, they are fantastic. The scenarios are awesome. So half of the lab have been restriction. So if you're not practicing it on your trial account, guys, you will lose everything. Everything. I don't know who has planned this whole lab.
I guess you'll have to show it on your system now.
Yes. I'm taking back the control. Okay, let's start new registration. So you guys won't be able to practice. Just have a look, take down the steps, and then we can take it ahead. So we are going to register an application, okay, and there are certain values that we are going to provide. So this is just a demo thing. So here we need to provide a name. Okay, so this name will be the user facing display name. Let's say I'm going with AZ app registration. Okay. Now, sorry. What are the account types which are supported? So who can access this application or access this API? So accounts in the organization. Okay. So you have the single tenant option, multi-tenant, and personal Microsoft like Skype and Xbox if you want to give access to them. So many times, you will feel that there are a lot of guest users who are coming up, okay, in the organization or if who want to access that project. So for them, in that scenario, you need to select this account in organization and directory stuff. Now here what we'll do is we'll go with accounts in this organization directory only, okay, for the testing purpose. And let's go with that. Okay. And if we scroll down on the right hand side, so you have this option called as redirect URI. So redirect URI is basically where we are trying to set up the public client native, so mobile desktop and all, something like that. So it's like a value that we are doing. So what we are going to select, so we are going to select public client native, and for the authentication response will be providing a path. So this path will be http colon, this will be my path. Okay, so it will start with like this, and then this will go with the local host. Sorry. sorry, I was speaking on that. So the scope, each of the scope, they have their own area. So when we talk about personal, so we can select that personal option. And if we want to go for something on the account type, we can select that. And once that is done, we can select it, you know. So let's say if I want to check with this area. So here, these are the platform configurations that I'm having, okay, for this particular app. Okay, so we have registered an app, okay, the registration is done. Clear? So this, whenever we are registering, what are the two objects which are getting created, guys?
Application object and service principal object.
Very good. So application object and service principal object. Okay, so let's move on now. So we'll keep this as it is, we'll be using it further. So authentication using Microsoft Authentication Library, okay. Microsoft Graph. Okay, let's talk about Microsoft Graph now. So let's talk about Microsoft Graph. What exactly is Microsoft Graph and what is the use of it? Just 1 minute. Let me share the screen again. So I'm sharing the PPT. Just let me know once it is visible. So we'll be talking about Microsoft Graph. What exactly is use of Microsoft Graph and what is the use? Basically. Yeah. So is it visible, guys? Microsoft, this PPT.
Yeah.
So what is Microsoft Graph? So Microsoft Graph is, it's kind of stuff which is replacing your Azure AD Graph. Okay. This is M365. Okay, this on the screen that you can see. So we have this, this is an M365 platform. So we have certain build your experience stuff, and then we have this extended M365 experience. So we have web apps, we have bots, device native, we have daemon apps, workflow automation, analytics. So these are some of the things that we are having. So for most of the production apps, Microsoft Graph, they can readily, or they have those whole support environment or support scenarios, which are readily available, and they can fully support, in fact, Azure AD scenarios. Okay, so for all your production apps, basically. So Microsoft Graph is like, you're replacing or you're trying to replace the whole Azure AD graph. Okay, there's an Azure AD graph that we have. So you are trying to replace the whole Azure AD graph, using this Microsoft Graph. So it supports the whole Azure AD scenarios. In addition to that, Microsoft Graph actually supports many new Azure AD datasets, okay, and features that are not available in Azure AD Graph. So let us understand what exactly these are there. So this API which has been offered, or the Microsoft Graph API, they offers a single endpoint, okay, which is called as graph.microsoft.com. So https://graph.microsoft.com is something which has been offered over there. Now, what it does, it provides us a rich, people-centric data and insights about all the M365 services. So it provides us the option for that. Okay. So Microsoft Graph, they have connectors, okay, which is under the preview mode. So which helps us to work on, or deliver data external to Microsoft Cloud, okay. So any kind of data which is there on an external point from Microsoft Cloud, it can be delivered into Microsoft Graph Service and application, okay, and we can use it. So that is what we can do, okay. So now, if I move on to the next slide, so you will find that how exactly. So here you can see you have the extended experiences like document, conversation, portal. This is normally what we have. And then we have build your experience option, where we have the web apps, bots, device, daemon, workflow, and analytics over here. Okay. And then we have this Microsoft Graph. So Microsoft Graph has this Office, Windows 10, Enterprise Mobility. So this is called as EMS. Okay. EMS actually, it's a part of your MDM. So Intune and all these things comes under your EMS. Okay. So in short, the whole identity and all, you can use Microsoft Graph. Okay. So it provides you option. It provides you connection over there. This is how the data services are working. So for, on the app service, so we have this M365, then we have the connectors and the graph, okay. So graph data connect, and then we have the whole, capabilities, libraries, user experiences, authentication. So all of them are available over here. Okay. So, sorry guys. So when we talk about this Microsoft Graph, it's one of the best example for your usage. Okay. So this is a code example. So let us understand more about this graph part. What exactly is happening with this graph area? So these are the data, the graph data that we are having for Office 365, for Windows 10, for Dynamic 365. Dynamic 365 is again one of the product. Then we have this EMS. Okay. EMS coming up. That's just 1 minute. Okay, sorry. So, are you able to understand the graph? So, Microsoft graph, what exactly it is and what is the use of it? So, if we are trying to explain Microsoft graph in a very simple way, so it's like a developer's API platform, which we are using to connect to to data that is driving the productivity. So this platform, it is actually built on top of your Office 365 or M365 platform, and it allows developers like you and me to integrate their services with the Azure AD or Excel, Intune, Outlook, OneDrive, SharePoint, Planner, Windows 10. Now, the Microsoft Graph is providing you option with all the services, so you can integrate it with this whole service. That is the reason you can see it is showing you option of this, Office 365, Windows 10, Dynamic or EMS. Okay, so it's a very good product, which will be, and it is extensively used by developers today nowadays. Okay. Now the question is why we should go for Microsoft Graph. Okay, so using this API, so it's like an API. Okay, so you can use this API, so we can build smarter productivity apps by using this graph, and it gives you a single REST API endpoint to interact with the whole M365 or Microsoft products. Okay, so it all delegates the call to different M365 or Microsoft products, cloud services via single endpoint. So that is what we were trying to see over here. So here in this slide, so using a graph, you are able to deal with Office 365, Windows 10, the whole EMS part, which is a lot, in fact. If you ask me, it's a huge platform because each one of them, they are a different entity in their own area. Okay, M365 has a lot of application platforms, Windows 10, and then we have EMS. EMS itself is having a set of different services, which are coming up like Intune. Okay, then there are a set of policies and management, the security aspects, compliance, all those things are coming up into the enterprise mobility and security part. So all of them you are able to manage, or you are able to connect using this, one single Microsoft Graph. Okay. So it's like it's like the best thing which can happen for a developer, the Microsoft Graph. Okay. Now, the reason why we should go for Microsoft Graph, so using this Graph API, accessing data is like, it's a straightforward task, and it's transparent for developers like you and me. Okay. So we know how to use web services and APIs, so we can implement, functionalities in the applications, that we have created, and we can do it by using the graph. We can do it by using the whole process. Okay. So that is something which is possible using the Microsoft Graph. Okay. So what are the things that we can get? What are the functionalities we can implement? So we can get a rich context of the application. We can scan the Outlook calendar, look for next meetings, find out, whether the manager is out of office or, so forth. We can develop applications. We can send alert. Okay. So we can develop an application to send alert when you are trying to spend, let's say if you're spending too much time in meetings. Okay, so these are certain use cases which I have also worked. So graph is one of the best thing which can happen. So I had this project with IRCTC. Okay, in the year 2019. So there is a product called as Kaizhala. Have you heard about it, the Kaizhala product? Anyone? Kaizhala product, have you heard about it? Guys, am I audible to you?
As they were audible.
Please speak in between. I feel like I'm alone in this world. Turn on your cams. It's early morning. It's like I'm doing the whole talk. Classroom trainings are good, at least you can see people. Hi, Akhil. Harsh. Harsh is not, it's invisible, right? If you're going beyond that range, we won't be able to see you. A background range. So even I'm not feeling well, Akhil. A lot of stuff, This the season has affected a lot. Hi, Adyasha. Good morning.
Hello.
Yeah. Even Bhanu is coughing. Kshitija. So today I'm looking at Kshitija. I'm feeling like I'm talking to a professional. So Kshitija, any idea about this graph, this thing, Kaizala?
Yeah, I just Google. It says it's a secure messaging and work management software
So in
application.
a very simple language, if I tell it's like a WhatsApp.
It's an application. I think it's probably Microsoft version of WhatsApp.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, sorry.
So it was a good one, but they could not come up with a lot of things. Kaizala. So in the year 2018, this Microsoft started focusing on Kaizala. So they have invested a lot. They started pitching up to the clients, IRCTC and all. Big clients here. Even your this what do you call a big basket, all those things. The reason why I know because I was the one who was going there and pitching them. you know, I was the stop. So out of India, there were only 4 or 5 people who were, initially like Kaizala developers. So I was one of them, out of that 5 people. So we had this 2018 that was focused on Kaizala. So IRCTC, we had they were using this. There's a health department in IRCTC. You might be knowing it, right? For the health area. So let's say if someone wants to raise a concern, okay. So normally people they are traveling, okay. They are kind of away from this, and they cannot come directly if they are not feeling well. They cannot go and visit the hospitals which are developed for them. So in those scenarios, if they want to connect to the doctor, so this app we were using Kaizala. So that was one of the use case which we came up for the Kaizala. Okay. So you guys, I will tell you, once you are hitting the production, I don't know whether you would be making your own product, but this is for sure that you would be integrating a lot of things with the M365 areas. Okay. So today, if you're asking me on the development perspective, most of the projects which are coming up, they are coming, if it's an M365 client or if it's a Microsoft client, and majorly you will find that all the OEMs, all the tier one clients, so whether you talk about manufacturing sector, automobile, banking, they have or they are using M365 in some other way or any of the Microsoft products, right? So most of their development or requirement comes under the integration part. So Graph is a very important aspect for you guys, Microsoft Graph. Okay, so this will actually help you to get the things in line. Okay, and you need to know now. For example, you are using Teams, Microsoft Teams. Okay, so this Teams is having a bot. There's an option of bot, BOT. Now, what exactly is the bot? So you have used Slack, SLACK. Have you used it anytime? So in that there is a bot, that in case if you are, not doing any kind of activity or you are inactive, immediately that bot comes up and notifies you. right? Or if you want to leave, let's say you want to leave the conversation, you can notify the bot and the bot will take care of it. So bot is like a personal assistant to you, okay, in that Slack bot. So you can configure meetings, you can configure everything in that. So Microsoft Teams has also come up with a lot of bots. So there are default bots like WhoBot, Polybot. I don't know whether you have used it. So if you have it available on your Teams, just check it. Sorry guys. So it is available on your, Microsoft Teams. So, sorry. By the time I think end of the session, I will be dead. So you can check it over there. So there is a Polybot, WhoBot. So these are like, these are the use cases that you will be using mostly when we come on the development part. They are not a big thing, but yeah. And when we talk about this Kaizala or any other applications, organization, they want to retrieve data. So let's say there is a lot of requirement which is coming on the flow part. How can, like there are certain scenarios which we are discussing, let's say, that you need to develop an application where you're trying to send an alert. So let's say a user is trying to spend too much time in meetings, okay? So that application will help user to notify that the user is spending a lot of time in meeting, and they can use a reschedule option, okay? If they want to reschedule it, and they can take it ahead. So that is one of the use case you can have. Or you want to create a list of documents, list of documents used by people who are working with most of there's a document which has been used by most of the people. So you want to create the list of that document. Or let's say if you want to create an application for sending out a notification, so when people are adding Active Directory and any kind of employee onboarding is happening. So tomorrow, if let's say HR department, they want to add up someone. So let's say Siddhi is a new joiner, Siddhi is a new person. So now in this work from home environment, it is a bit challenging part to communicate. So what you can do is you can develop an app where as soon as HR enrolls or onboards a new person, okay. So what she can do is she can use an app, okay. Using that app, she can just type in the name, or that app will be connected to a kind of Workday account. So as soon as the HR is entering the details of Siddhi, let's say Siddhi, into that Workday account, there would be a trigger going to the admin stating that there's a new person who has been onboarded, and now we need to create an account, right? So such kind of integration, such kind of things, you need to develop once you're getting into the environment. These are the use cases, guys. These are the things you would be working on. Are you able to understand how the things are happening? So these are some of the general use cases you would be working on, apart from the total development of application. So mostly your requirements will be on the integration level, on the flow level, okay? That is what we would be targeting mostly when we are talking about this whole process. And there are many more, So now you understood where we can use graphs, or where I can go for the graph part. So you can check it on the website. So there's a Microsoft graph, graph.microsoft.com. Okay, you can go over there and you can check it over there. You will find the whole, So what are the SDKs which are supported? Okay. So when we talk about the SDKs, so Graph supports a lot of SDKs platform. So whether you talk about ASP.NET, MVC, Xamarin, then there's a Windows Universal Platform called as UWP, then JavaScript, Angular, PHP, Android, iOS, Ruby, Python, all of them, they are actually supported. Okay. So we can go ahead and create it and we can start. So we can do that. I'm sharing you a link. So this is a quick start for your graph. Okay, just check your chart. Okay. So once you, I don't know, again, you have restrictions, coming up in your environment. So whether you would be able to run up this thing or not. So it's a quick start for Microsoft Graph. Just click on that link. It will redirect you to a page, okay, developer.microsoft.com. Okay. So you can see it will provide you a lot of platform within it. Can you find it? Okay, so you have this, you can select your desired platform. Let's say, ASP.NET MVC. Okay, so you can select that desired platform. And once you have selected a development platform, okay, so then what you can do is you can start getting an app ID secret and all, and then it will ask you for the login, Microsoft account login. Okay, so whatever current login if you're using a personal ID or work ID, and then you can go ahead. We can register your app secret. You can register the app. Once the registration is done, then it will provide you with the Graph Explorer, and then you can start creating and updating the things. So let's say I'm selecting MVC. So it will ask you get set up for ASP.NET MVC. So you need to have this Visual Studio. Okay. So I can generate. So I will generate an ID. So it will redirect me to the area. Okay. Please don't look at my password. Yeah. So registration successful. This is my pass There's my application ID, and there's my app secret. So I can download the SDK code, and I'm done. So it will ask me for the whole process. So you can download the sample code provided by Microsoft in case if you want to check the things, if you want to check the whole process. Okay. So I'm sharing one more link. This is for the Explorer. You can check. So the link that I've shared is for the Graph Explorer. It's a web interface, for exploring the Graph APIs. So you can run any request command. You can do anything over there. Okay. So I've signed in over here. This is your Graph Explorer, and you can start creating. You need to sign in over there, and once you're done with the sign in, then you can start working on it. So the left panel that you are seeing is actually, it's the sign-in part, okay, that we're using. So you have the API version, request types, service endpoints, response, JSON, okay, all those things available. So if we talk about APIs, so there are two versions which are available. One is 1.0 and second one is beta. So this is so you can request, post, get, request a body, you can run a query. The profiles that we are having. You guys have worked, anyone who has worked on TOGAF? TOGAF 9.1 or something like that. So this is how the graph is looking and it works. So these are the basics of your graph, okay, guys. So whether you talk about API version, okay, or the responses and all. So graph is something. This is how we are going to use. All right. This is on the overview type for the graph. So we have extensions. See in the teams if we want to go with the teams. All right, guys. So let's go for a tea break, and let's join back in next 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. Okay. Guys, I'm audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's go for a tea break. Okay. Let's come back in 10, 15 minutes. Hi guys, are we back? Sorry, I just got into some exigency. Uh, Okay, so let's continue. So the next thing that we are going to discuss is about the cloud solution. Okay, about managing key secrets, certificates, and all. And then we'll be jumping on the API and service logic apps. So let's start with the key secrets. So what exactly is the secure cloud solution and how exactly we can manage those particular things? Okay. I hope all of you are present.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm presenting my screen. Just let me know once it is. So this part is clear, right? The one that we have discussed now, graph and how exactly the things are working. So it's like an overview. We are not getting deep into that. So it's more of like how we are using graph, Microsoft Graph. What is Microsoft Graph? What is the use case and all, basically. And when we talk about authentication or the whole, so what, how exactly it is being used. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. So next thing that we are going to talk about is Microsoft Azure Key Vault. Okay, and how exactly its service is working. So when we talk about Microsoft Azure Key Vault, what are the areas and how exactly the services are working with respect to the Key Vault area. What is the process and what are the requirements over here. So let me share the screen. So Azure Key Vault, okay, what exactly it is and what is the requirement. So in a very small description. So in this, we'll be discussing about the whole process. Okay, what exactly, how we can talking about the Key Vault services. So how exactly we can use it. Okay, what are the areas, and then we'll be talking about the identities part. Is how we can manage the identities for Azure resources, and also about the secure app services. So this is on your secured cloud solution. Okay, so in this area we'll be discussing about this whole aspect. Okay, so let's start with this. Yeah, so Key Vault, what exactly is this Key Vault and what else? So this is again the security concept that we are trying to discuss. So we have created the apps, we have implemented everything. So now the question is how we can secure the whole cloud solution. So one of the requirement or one of the things that we can have is you know so see, whenever we are trying to deal with any application, the one of the most important thing comes is how we can manage the keys and manage the secrets, and we can manage the certificates, and how we can secure them, because these are the very important stuff. So if anything goes wrong with them, then there is a threat of intrusion or some kind of attack. So for this, Azure has come up with the So Azure has come up with a concept called as Key Vault. Okay. So Key Vault is a concept which is Azure Key Vault. Okay. Now, what exactly is this Azure Key Vault? Let us understand this. So Azure Key Vault is a service. It's like a, you can say it's like a platform. Okay. So what it does, it helps us to solve, certain problems. Okay. The problem related to your secret management. So, how you can manage the secret, key management, and certificate management. And along with that, it also helps you to store secrets backed by, hardware security models like TPM and all. There are certain hardware security models for FIPS. So it helps you to store that. Now, when we talk about secret management, so Azure Key Vault helps us to solve, this problem. So related to secret management, how it is doing. So Azure Key Vault, it is used to securely store, and tightly control access over the tokens, passwords, certificates, API keys, and other secrets that we have. So it manages those particular things. Key management part, we have this Key Vault. There is a key management solution which has been used by this Key Vault. So which makes us easy to create and control the encryption keys and, to encrypt the data, all those things. Okay. So this is on the key management part. Then we have the certificate management. Certificate management is like, it's like where we are trying to, deploy the private secure socket layers, using the SSL, using the TSL or TLS, okay, transport layer security. So we are trying to manage the certificates for the use with Azure or internal connected resources. So that is how we are done. So this feature you will find when you're trying to create any resource, and also it's available. Now, what are the benefits of using Key Vault? So first, it is a centralized, it provides you the centralized application secrets. So it provides a centralized storage of application secrets in the, Azure Key Vault, and it allows us to control their distribution. So let's, for example, if we talk about instead of storing the the connection string in the apps, so the one that, so remember when we were trying to create a storage account, so there was a connection string, right? So we created it. So whenever we want to connect to that storage account, we need to use that connection string over there. So instead of storing the connection string in the app, we can store it securely in the Key Vault. All those things can be done. We can also securely store secrets and keys. We can use HSMs. We can use federal FIPS, the Federation of Federal Information Processing Standards. We can use all of them. Okay. So there are various mechanisms that we can use, that we can work on. Authorization done by RBAC, the one that you have, the restrictions that you're having in your lab environment, because of which you're not able to perform much of the labs. So even that, so that is via the RBAC role. Okay. So all these things are the benefits of your Azure Key Vault. Okay. So RBAC is not because of Azure Key Vault, it's one of the areas. So RBAC is a different entity, Azure Key Vault is a different entity. So what are the concepts behind this Key Vault? Okay, when we talk about the Key Vault part, what are the different concepts? So these are the concepts. So we have Vault, Vault Owner, and Vault Controller. So these are the three areas. So Vault, when we talk about Vault Owner, or when we talk about Vault Owner, so Vault Owner is something where we are, it's the one which is creating the Key Vault, and it has the full access. So like an owner, the one who is having all the rights, auditing, everything is done by. So it's like an administrator. So the administrators of of the platform, they can control the key cycle. Vault consumer is the one who are they are performing action on the assets inside the Key Vault. Okay, so Vault owner is the one who is granting the consumer access, and then we okay. So apart from this, we have another basic concept like service principle. So again, service principle is where you are trying to identify, or you are having the security entity like user created apps, services, automation, all of them coming into picture. Then when talking about Azure AD, so we have this tenant, which is coming up. So Azure AD, we are already using it, and there are many other mechanisms which we are using. The authentication, when we talk about authentication process, so key vault authentication is something which we are targeting. So in this, so to do any operations with the key vault, we need to have this authentication. So there are three ways to authenticate to key vault. One is via managed identities for Azure resources. Second is service principal certificate. And the third is the service principal and secret. So these are the three areas that we are using. So in the managed identities, let's say when we are deploying an app on virtual machine in Azure, so we can assign an identity to the virtual machine that has access to the key vault. And what we can do is we can also assign identities to the Azure resources. So the benefit of this approach is like, the app or the service, it isn't managing the rotation of the first secret. So Azure automatically rotates the identity. And, this is the best approach or practice that we can have. So manage identities is one of the best practices. Second is your service principal and certificate. So here we are dealing with the, certificates which are associated and which have access to the key vault. Normally, it has not been recommended. Okay, like this approach is not been recommended because the application owner or the developer, they need to rotate the certificate. Okay, so it's not been recommended over here on the authentication. Third is your service principal and secret. So in this, we can use service principal and secret to authenticate to the key vault. Again, it has not been recommended because it's again, there is no automatic stuff to rotate the secret. Over here we are dealing with the bootstrap secret, which is used to authenticate. We cannot. It's very hard actually to automatically rotate the bootstrap secret. That is on the key vault part. How exactly we can manage key secrets and certificates by using key vault API. All right, so let's look out for some further things. Let's set and retrieve a secret from Azure Key Vault by using the the Azure platform. Okay, let's log into that. Let's see. What we'll do is we'll try to create a vault, key vault, in this, and then we'll try to add and retrieve a secret from that. In this, what we'll do is we'll be using a Cloud Shell. So instead of portal, we will be using the CLI, the PowerShell part. Okay. So again, let's start with the Cloud Shell part. I may need to create storage. Yeah, that's something. Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a vault first. Okay, and we can install this whole. So we'll be using the CLI, or sorry, the Cloud Shell over here, or we can install the CLI. Okay, so if you want to install the CLI, so or use it, so this is a link that I would like to share with you. On the chat, just check your chat. That is for CLI, Azure CLI part. So let's log into Azure. Now we are going to use bash platform over here. So these are all, whatever commands we are going to run, it's a bash command. Okay. So I'm sharing this walkthrough with you on the sheet so that you can explore it. Kshitija, I'm sharing you the walkthrough. Just check, okay?
Yeah.
I've shared it. Just check, okay?
Yeah, I'll keep you posted
Where?
when I'll receive here on the chats.
No, where you're going to post it.
On the chats.
Okay. Okay. So let's continue. By the time you're receiving it, once you receive it, guys, start working. I think the CLI is something, and the PowerShell is working on your end. Okay, so you can perform this lab. Thoroughly, I will also perform it. Okay, so we are going to create a key vault. Now, there's a command over here. So there are two commands. The sheet I have shared there, it has two commands. One is the PowerShell and one is your, the CLI command. So the CLI command, you won't be able to execute on, the PowerShell command, you won't be able to execute on CLI. Okay, so just check over there. So let's start. So it's for the both bash environment as well as for this environment. So this is my PowerShell. You can use bash also. Okay, I have shared you both the commands over there in the document. Okay. So let us start with first, creating the vault. Okay. We'll set the environment first. Okay. So my key vault, there's a name, EZ204 vault. That is something you have provided. Okay. Now I will be setting the location. It's the region. Okay. So when I'm setting this region, so this region can be, any region that you want. So for you guys, it would be restricted to what do you call us? East US, right? East US, West US, and all. So just try to give that region over there. I can use any region, but for you,
We cannot install Azure CLI. We do not have permission to execute MSI files.
don't install it. Go for this thing. No? You have the access to Azure Cloud Shell, right?
Azure Cloud Shell, you mean in the Azure portal?
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing, I'm showing you demonstrating on Azure Cloud Shell. So you can use the
We
same.
can
We
still
cannot
see the
see.
We
key
can only
that
see your
is
PPT. We cannot see
Oh,
your
okay, okay, okay,
portal.
okay. Great, great. Let me share it. Now is it visible?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing, so we have created this vault. Now, we have set the parameters. So my key vault is at 204 volt, and now we are going to set the location, the region. So while setting the location, what you can do is please try to go for the location which is appropriate for you. Okay, let's go for the location now. Okay, so I would be going with east to west. So I've set the location. You guys, you can set it as per your area. I think East US is available for you too. Now, next is, we are going to create a resource group. We are going to work on the resource group part. So let's create a resource group. So again, here we need to select the, location. So location will be again the East US. One argument for this. Okay.
Dave, you do not have to specify East US again. My location is the variable in which we already gave East US. So you just have to give dollar my location.
Okay. Is it like that?
Yeah.
This is Bhanu, right?
Yes, Dave.
You're smart man. So Bhanu, you know everything about Azure now, right? You've understood the whole Azure part.
I don't say I know. I'm just going through what you are telling.
Okay. So at least what I have said, you know that, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But the thing is, we do not have permission to do this. We get the we
I
do not
know.
have the authorization to perform this action. This is what we get as the result.
See, I am really sorry for that, guys, but I don't know who has set this environment because what I got is I got your training, and I have set the context very clear before this training for the labs. But I think that's not something which has been targeted over here. That is the reason I'm telling you, instead of getting into the bureaucracy and asking the thing, please go for the trial version if it is possible because I know it will take a lot of time. And anyway, today it's the end of the session, so no one is caring about it. So they just want to complete the session. Okay. So I would really like to, request you, please go ahead and use the trial version because EZ is not so you are not coding anymore in this. It's more of a platform, and there's a very new platform for you. For some of you, you're already using it, but again, if you want to utilize it and understand it, you need to dig it up. You need to know the whole process. It's not a one-day process which you understand. Okay, so we have created this. So we have done with this whole process. So the next command that we are going to run is I think Azure Key Vault. Okay, so again the same. We are going to use the command. This will take some moment. Okay. Kshitija, you have shared the file, right? Why you guys
Yeah,
are
I have.
texting now?
I have.
All of you, you all are texting right now. Anand has texted in the chat. Kshitija has texted you. So you have the mic. You can unmute and speak, guys.
Okay.
You guys are busy somewhere?
No,
So I got a ping from Shivani. I think she was the same person whom I asked question and she was not able to answer, right? Yesterday.
yeah.
Yeah. I thought like Nishita, she told me Nishita, I thought like it's a different person. Then when she told me, you know, she was like, okay, now I remember. She's saying thanks. So I told her you were the same person who have not replied yesterday, no, to the answer. She was saying thanks. Okay, great world. So guys, were you able to create this, the key vault stuff? Or still working on it?
We don't have permission, Dev.
You don't have permission for what? For the Cloud Shell?
Not Cloud Shell, for creating the vault.
So what permissions you're having, man? Like, are we doing any labs over here, or just me demonstrating it? That's it. That has
Uh,
no meaning.
we had to create that resource, right?
Right,
So
right.
there we have we have a restriction. We cannot create resources.
So you can go for some other resource group, no? Instead of creating, you can use the same resource group. So you can skip that step. Instead of creating the resource group, you can go to the third step. So in the third step, they have mentioned the resource group name. You can put the resource group name which is already existing. So this is where you need to understand, how you need
Dave,
to
I
twist in.
tried this thing. I tried to use the already existing resource group, but then I'm getting some error.
Can you
Like
show
it's
it?
not. Yeah, just a second.
This is, I have done a lot of trainings till now, but this is really bad.
Let me know if
Half
my
of
screen
the
is visible.
labs are not working. I don't know. I need to speak to this. I should have set the context clear. It's really bad. Preeti, you're there? Preeti? Preeti, if you can hear us, please unmute. I think she's not there.
I'm getting this
Yeah,
missing subscription registration.
1 minute. Let me check. Can you maximize this window? Full screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I used my resource group, like already existing one,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting this.
I still can't see 1 minute. Let me full screen it. Yes, your subscription is not registered to use namespace Microsoft.keyvault.
Stop sharing.
Yeah, we don't have any other option. Anyway, so let me continue. I don't know whether you would be able to practice or not. So let me finish my task from here. So you can talk to your team and get it returned, because now I'm I can't do it anymore. So let's add and retrieve a secret. So we have created a vault. Now we'll try to add a secret to the vault and work on that. So let's create a secret. Let's add a password. Which you can use. So if you check that sheet which I have shared with you, so in that you have this whole password. So there's an example which has been provided. So the password is HVFKK965. That is the password. So we'll try to add this now, the secret, to the key vault that we have created. Yes. So now we'll move on to the next part. So the next is we'll use this Azure key vault secret. Okay. We'll retrieve it. So we'll try to retrieve it now. Okay. So the value. Here's an example. Recovery level. So it will return some, it has written some JSON context, and it will be having the value. So we have this value of password, HVFFK and all. And that's your value. Okay, so that's it. We are done with the keyword creation, how exactly the keyword is working. Any questions so far, guys? And we are not practicing, so there would be a lot of questions. Okay. So we
So
are done
they,
with the
apart from passwords, we can also save other things, right?
yeah.
Mm,
With the keyword. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Hello, Dave. Dave, are you there?
Yeah. Sorry, I was talking on mute. Yeah, Fiza, tell me.
A question just popped in my head, but I don't know if it's a silly one or not. But I just wanted to ask, like, what is the exact difference between Bash and PowerShell, and when to use what? I googled it, but it said like Bash is based on C programming and PowerShell is based on .NET framework. So in Azure, when to use what?
So
You
it's a
have
very
said
good
it.
question. It's a very good question. It's not a silly question, Fiza. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, don't take it in that way. It's a very good question. In fact, this is where you get stuck normally if you're new to this platform. So let me explain you. So in the developer context, yeah. So what you have read is totally right. So Bash is something where we are dealing with C, and PowerShell is where we have the .NET. Now from this, you can understand what platform they would be, used, right? So all the operating system or runtime which are dealing with C, okay. So I will talk, if we talk about that, so Linux, okay. If you are trying to deal with Linux or mostly, so they are all, they are created using the C and all, okay. So they are running on the C environment. Majorly all the operating system they are working on the Unix in the background, but yeah, it's a C. So Bash is more popular when you are dealing with the Linux-based environment, okay. And PowerShell is a Windows-based environment. That is the reason you have this .NET stuff which is coming up, okay. So whenever you're trying to execute an application, let's say if you are trying to connect an application, onto this Microsoft environment, so PowerShell is one of the things that normally we use. Bash, on the other hand, is where we are trying to get into the Linux, most probably into the Linux area, or onto the even the console that we get in Linux. If you are using Fedora or Red Hat and all, so that is a Bash.
Okay.
So let's say if you want to run certain commands, and if you want to execute something, you want to handle the VMs, okay. So for Linux, so you can use Bash platform over there. Whereas if you're going with this, you know, with this Microsoft one, so for that we have this, PowerShell. PowerShell is something recommended over there. All right.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. That's good. You guys are coming up with questions. I like it. Kshitija, are you able to understand everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Please explain Key Vault.
So the key vault is used for the authentication purpose. So
Okay. Straight over there. Saiti, are you there?
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah. So Key Vault, can you explain it?
Uh, it's
Actually,
basically,
yeah. Tell me.
yeah, for secure storage purpose in order to store keys.
Okay.
And
Secure storage purpose in order to store keys. What else we are storing? Username,
anything,
password.
yeah, passwords.
Okay. All right.
That's
So what are the concepts behind this Key Vault?
concepts. Authentication. That is all. I think that's the main thing, I guess, authentication.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, Kshitija, she's the one who is helping with me mails. So I won't ask a lot of questions to her. Or else, the mail will be not reaching. Anyway, Kshitija, if you want to answer, you can answer this. Yeah. What are the concepts?
So it's basically kind of like an API service. So we basically store the secrets, which is like the information of high priority information, which we want to keep,
No,
prioritized the keyword.
no, no,
Uh,
no, 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 no.
oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, Isha, if you can help, I think you would be able to answer. What is a keyword concept?
No, Dev, I don't have any idea.
What? You are not able to answer. That's really strange. Yeah. Then I think no one will be able to answer. I think, right? If Isha is not able to answer, anyone wants to give it a try.
Dev, keyword concepts are mainly three types of concepts are there.
Who
Three
is this?
concepts are there. Anuja.
Anuja. Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
Anuja.
First is vault, second is vault owner, and third is vault consumer. So
Awesome.
vault is basically the secrets that we want to, uh, I think, save or
Right. Right.
something like logical group of secrets. Vault owner is something that has the control of the vault and provides the consumer the rights to perform some actions. And vault consumer is something that performs the actions on the vault. So these three are the concepts.
Awesome. That's one single word, Anuja, for you. Awesome. So fantastic. See, we have discussed it, 15 minutes back, in fact, 15 or 20 minutes back. So yeah, so you went into the different concept part, right? You thought like we are discussing about Azure Vault concept, what exactly and how exactly Azure Vault is working. Anyway, great. So let's move on. So the next thing that we are discussing is, on the API stuff. Okay. Now before that, there's one more thing that I want to add up, or we want to add up is on the management part. So let's say if we want to deal with this resources and all, okay, which are available. So if you want to manage app features, by using this whole process, not app feature, but yeah, but on the you know manage identity part. Okay, so manage identity thing, using this whole concept of key vault and all. So how exactly you can work on that? So first of all, what is manage identity? So let us understand that. So manage identities for Azure resources, it's like a concept. So see, one of the common challenge whenever we are building a cloud application is how to manage the credentials in the code for authentication to the cloud services. So keeping this credential secure is, it's one of the important tasks. So I will give an example. Recently, I was working on a project with the, uh, normally don't take up the name of the projects, but I was working on a project for RBI, okay, last month itself. So we were trying to work on something on, something on the, it's a banking sector. So in the banking sector, one of the critical thing comes up is how you try to manage the things. So nothing should go out and nothing should, unauthentication should be coming in. So in this scenario, what we have done is we were, managing each and every, so the passwords and everything, anything which is going on cloud. So we were trying to work on the cloud solutions. So anything which is going on the cloud, it needs to be managed. Okay. So it was a big challenge, So keeping this credential secure. So whether it was in the user's laptop, in the employee's laptop, or the officer's laptop who are working in the, in those organization, or whether it's on their mobile or whether it is on their systems that they're using. So it was a critical task. So the same thing is happening with your Azure resources. So ideally, whenever we talk about credentials, they never appear on, any of the developers' workstation, okay, and they aren't checked by the developers into the source control part, okay. So considering this, again, Azure Key Vault comes into the picture. So Azure Key Vault, provides a way to securely store the credential, the secrets that we have already seen right now, and other keys that we have. Okay, so it helps you to. So when we talk about manage identities for Azure resources, so it's a feature in Azure AD. Okay, it's a part of your Azure AD, which helps us to solve this problem. So the feature is providing us with the services with the, which helps us to automatically manage identity in the Azure AD. So we as a user, or we as an admin, we as a developer, we can use this identity to authenticate to, any service, okay, which is appearing on Azure AD authentication. And this whole thing is done. It's a part of your key vault. Okay, it's a part of your key vault. It's a part of your key vault service. Okay. So we don't require any credentials, anything in the code. Everything is managed by the, Azure resources. So it's a managed identity. Now there are types of managed identities which are, available. Basically, there are two types of managed identities. One is your, one is the system signed or system assigned managed identity, and second one is the user assigned managed identity. So these are the two types of managed identity you will find. So system assigned is directly enabled to Azure service instances. So when the identity is enabled over here, okay. So what Azure does, it creates an identity for the instance in the Azure AD tenant. Now this identity is trusted by the subscription of all the instances. So whatever resources you're using. So yeah. So right now the user ID and password that you're using, even though you guys have a very restrictive environment in your lab, but still that is being managed by whom? By the, so there's a system and then there is a user. Okay. So once the identity is created, the credentials which have been provided, they are provisioned onto the instances. So on the VMs or whatever you are creating. So it's on the machine area. Okay. So the life cycle of the system assigned identity is directly, it is tied to the Azure service instances that it enables. Okay, guys, just 1 minute. Sorry guys, yeah, I'm back. So everyone at my place is coughing right now. So just went for the medicines. How is it your end? All thing like everything is all right over there? Climate change. Okay, so what were we talking about? Types of manager entities. So what are the different types of manager entities, guys? So there are two types. One is system assigned manager entity, and then we have the user assigned manager entity. So system assigned is basically where you are dealing with the instances, service instances. Okay. And user assigned is where we are dealing with the standalone Azure resource. Okay. So whenever we are creating an identity for any resource and all, so over there we are dealing with this, manage identities. Okay. So anyway, okay. So let's move ahead. Let us work on this. So you have created a VM, right? Yesterday. Were you able to create it?
Yes.
Okay. So you can check the manage identities, in the Azure VM. Okay. So in your VM, you have this resource manager. So the resource manager is getting the request to enable the system assigned manage entity on our VM. Okay, so you're getting a request from there, and then the Azure AD works with the VM, the service. So the account password, the password that you're using. So when you're trying to create a VM, so ARM, the Azure Resource Manager, yesterday we have discussed about it. So what it does, it configures the VM identity on the VM, and it updates the Azure instances metadata, okay, or its whole value. And once the VM identity has been created, or VM has the identity, so it starts using policies and process over there. Okay, so and that is the reason you are getting this whole, what do you call, as VM associated within your account. It is not available. So even though you guys are sharing the same tenant, okay, so Akhil, I think you're not able to see Anand's or Abhishek's VM, and similarly Abhishek cannot see you know the VM created by Sarthak. Okay, or Sarthak cannot see the VM which is created by the other person. Okay, so even though you guys are part of the same tenant, you guys are of the same tenant, right? Yeah, so that's how the identity works, the managed identity works for the instance part. Resource user assigned, when we talk about user assigned part, so user assigned, it works in the same way. So whenever the ARM receives a request to create a user assigned managed identity, what it does, it creates a service principal in your Azure AD, okay, for the user assigned managed identity. So the service principal is the one which is holding the value, the schema and all. Okay. So whenever you're doing the migration, guys, service principal is very important. Okay, please make a note of. Sorry, I'm not. So you won't be getting into migration, but yeah, I'm talking with respect to the admin level. Yeah, for the migration and all, the service principles are very important. So ARM receives the request to to configure the Azure, or so the user assigned manager entity on a VM, and it updates the metadata which is there. So after the user managed identity has been created and assigned, okay, again there's an RBAC process which is getting, and then the respective resource which is there, it is getting the identity, and whenever the user wants to access that resource, okay, so the metadata and everything has been checked, and then the resource manager uses that, the token, okay, the token which is generated by this metadata, and based on that, then the access has been provided. Okay, and then you're getting this. So the authentication happens in this whole process. Okay, so
Hello, Dave.
yes, tell me.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to know, are you sharing your screen like any PPT or what?
Right now, I have shared something.
It's
It's
just
a
PowerShell.
PowerShell, right? No, I'm not sharing any PPT.
Okay, okay, okay. It's okay.
Okay, it's an add-on on the things.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So now I will be sharing the PPT for API management. So next that we are going to talk about is API management, guys, how exactly the API management works and all. Okay, so we'll be spending next 15 minutes on it, and then we'll be moving towards the further part. Okay, so let me share my screen. I hope the screen is visible. Guys, the screen is visible.
Yes, yes, it's visible.
Please respond. Okay, let's talk about API management. So API management, what it does. See, today, whenever we talk about businesses, businesses they are looking out for the ways. So there are a lot of organizations who want to get into this digital. They want to utilize the digital platform to connect, to improvise, to connect to their existing client, or to connect to the new client. And to build solutions for them, to means in order to increase the business, basically, and they also want, to use the digital platform to provide services, efficient services for the already existing client. Okay, so API, plays a very important role. So what it does, it helps us, to customize, to it helps organization to publish the APIs to external partner, to internal developers, and it helps to unlock the potential of the data and the services. So nowadays, as we have saw the businesses everywhere, they are looking at to extend their whole operations as a digital platform. Okay, creating new channels, finding new customers, and driving deeper engagement with them. Okay, with the existing ones. So API management, what it does, it provides the core competency to ensure a successful API program through developer engagement. So like you guys, so developer business insight, analytics, security, protection, all those things. Okay. So for this, we can use Azure API management. So Azure API management, can be used for this. So wherein we can, use it for taking any backend, and we can launch a full-fledged API program based on it. Okay. So this system is made up of different components. What are the different components it consists of? So it consists of the first component is the API gateway. Okay. So the API gateway is the endpoint, which is actually doing a lot of operation. So it is the endpoint gateway that accepts the API calls and routes them to your backend. Okay. It verifies the API keys, the token, the certificates, and other credential. Okay. It enforces usage quotas and log calls metadata for analytics purpose. All these things you can do via API gateway. And then we have a component called as portal. Okay, so portal is basically for working on the administrative interface. Okay, where we can set up API program. So we can use it to define import or define or import this API schema. Okay, for packaging stuff or API of packaging. Okay, into the products, for setting up the policies like quotas and all, or transformation, or managing users, the identity part and all. And then we have this developer portal, which is the next component which is in your API management. So this is basically serving as a main web presence. Okay, so for developers, so where they can read API documentation, they can try out API via the interactive console. They can create an account, subscribe to get API keys, and even they can use it for accessing analytics on their usage part. So all these things can be done via this whole API part. So these are the components which are there. So these are terminologies: backend, front end, product, operations. So we have this process. Okay, so basically when we talk about API management, so we can use it for a lot of purpose. So basically, so we have this components like products, groups, developers, okay, policies. These are the different things. Okay. Now we can create an API instance by using, again, we can use CLI, or we can go with the, Cloud Shell. So we can use Cloud Shell, or we can use the CLI, and we can create an API instance. Again, over here we have both the commands. So I'm sharing a walkthrough again, okay, of creating an API, okay, instance by using this whole Azure part. Apart from that, how we can import. So let's say if I want to import an API using this portal, so how we can import that. So just go to that walkthrough. Just give me 1 minute, I'm sharing it. Kshitija, I have shared you this link, just check.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's get back to the platform. Let's restart it. So we are using the platform again, the same cloud shell. So this we have added. Now next we are going to set the location again. So that would be the region. Okay, and in the then there will I will be providing the email. Okay, so let's provide a location and an email. Location will be east. Then my email. So the email again will be using left out the parenthesis. Okay. So now the next is we are going to create a resource group. So for you guys, it would be not there. Okay. So it's a East US. It's created. Now we'll create an instance. So the AZ APIM, APIM command is something which we are using. Create command is used to create this instance. Okay. So now we are moving towards the API management. So we'll import the things. So now what we're going to do is we are going to try to work on this API. So it's still activating. So it will take around 30 to 40 minutes, I think, to activate. Okay, so by the time this is getting activated, let's go for a lunch break and let's come back. Okay, once we are back, it will be activated, I think. All right, guys, so let's jump for a lunch break and let's connecting next. Today we'll cut down the lunch break, around 45 minutes to 45 minutes. Okay, as we need to finish the other portion. Okay, guys, so let's connect in next 45.